Let's try that again with the welder plugged in. Hey guys, welcome back. So, got a little project going here in the background, so to be honest I thought I'd stick the camera on, take you along for the ride. Now, if you saw my last video, you know I'm kind of in the midst of working on the Transit camper van conversion. However, I ran into a problem over at the shop. My welder has developed an issue over there, and this being 2022 I cannot get replacement parts for it. So I broke out this old girl. Now this thing, I don't know how well you can see that there. This thing I was given, oh god, a couple of years ago. A friend cleared out his dad's garage and this was laying there, so main issue with it was the trigger was damaged, so the welder was powered constantly, but it's laying down there. I of course have hit up eBay and picked up a new gun and new tips, new wire, etc. Now got it all together. It's working okay actually. One thing I don't like about it, more modern MIGs, when you release the trigger it also turns power off to the wire. This one however, if you touch the wire on your welding surface it will strike up an arc. The core is constantly powered. Now at first I thought maybe that's a fault with the welder itself, but doing a little bit of diving online, speaking to a couple of others who actually have these welders, that's the way it's meant to be. Now I'm not overly fond of that, because that is how you end up with welding flashes, especially getting into some of the tight spaces I'll be working in the van. So what I've come up with is that. That is a 10 amp 240 volt 6 pole relay. 6 or 8? 8, sorry. So what I'm going to do is, this is the circuit diagram that I've come up with, and I'll actually stick this up on screen so you can see it better, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to install this relay into the welder so that basically the trigger disconnects power from the wire core as well. So just a quick look in here. This is where we're at. This is the main power switch, and we've got one wire to the transformer, and we've got another one to the actual power selector. I mean, it's a basic one, it doesn't have a rotary power selector on, it's just a high, minimum, and what is it, maximum. It doesn't even have a voltage selector on, so that is the plan. What I'm going to do is cut the wire there, cut the wire there, install the relay, so when it's triggered, when the trigger's pulled, not only powers up the actual wire itself, it sends power to these two. That's the theory. So let's get into it. Just a quick side note, I like my side notes. Just picked this bed frame up. Basically it's a hospital style bed. Came with a lot of stuff actually, a lot of linear actuators and just some cool stuff. It all works. So I'm going to use this as the frame for the bed in the camper van. So yeah, they are the actual extendable bits to it. I may actually put a powered bed in, you know, so we can raise it up to the height of the the roof or something. I don't know. But thought you'd like to see that. It's just cool bits and pieces. Anyway, let's get on with the video. I'll set the camera up somewhere and we'll see what we can get into. So, be right back. Okay, so first things first, let us disconnect the trigger. Kind of in that place at the moment with everything piled up here for the van, waiting to go back to the workshop, so not a lot of space to move around in, so I'm kind of tripping over everything, which is annoying, but that's how it goes. Okay, that's 10 mil. First things first, I am not... Oh, yes I am. So, this is the trigger, so I need to go from there to there. So if I cut that right about there. There. And this one can go up there. Okay, so I'll reconnect that to there. So move over there. One thing I do need use one of them. One thing I'm going to do is what I did the last time, is actually take the yellow outer sleeve off so I can crimp this tighter, because obviously that is for a much thicker cable. Hey, you never know, they come in handy for something. And we will have some shrink wrap. A little too thin, too thick. Let's try, that might work. I know technically you don't need to put the heat shrink on, but I like to do it, so, you know, bear with me. Okay, so. I'm going to fold this multiple times just to get a little bit extra thickness in the wire there, just to try and help this connect more. Look at that. Okay, so I think what I'm all going to do is I'm going to go and put a second piece of heat shrink on here, because I have a feeling this may not crimp down small enough. So small piece of heat shrink will seal onto the wire, the actual cable, and then the thicker one hopefully will seal between the small heat shrink and this connector. So that's the plan. It's always good to have a plan. I think what I'm going to do though is I think I'm going to open this guy up a little bit. Yeah, just, I don't know if you can see that. What I want is, I want one side to actually overlap the other, so yeah, I don't know if that, I'm sure if that actually shows up on the camera, but the idea is I want this to fold around itself. Actually, I see it better there. That's the idea anyway. I think that's how I did it last time. It's actually about a week since I put that gun on, so... And we've had New Year in between. Yeah. I just hold that over like that. These ones. So, there we go. Not the prettiest thing, but looks like it's going to work. There. That was not going to come off. So, slide that up there. Yep. Now slide this. That small piece already has slid up there. So. Slide that up to there to begin with. Alright. And then with the heat up. There we go, that's what I want. Okay, now slide the thicker one up. About there. Hit that. There we go. Out. So that is basically what I wanted. That's nice and solid. What I want is, I want the heat shrink to actually be what supports the cable rather than the actual crimp itself. So, okay, so now that is the trigger wire permanently, what would normally be the trigger wire is now permanently connected. Next step is to figure out the actual trigger itself. So, let's go grab the relay. Where is it at? As I said, I just do not have much space at all here, and everything is just on top of it. Everything else until I get stuff taken back to the shop. Okay. Oh, wonderful. That is what hit the floor. Okay, it's okay. Right, so, need to remove the relay so we can get the pin out. And I'm going to set that there. Okay, so these two correspond. So we have 7 is negative, 8 goes to the trigger. So this one, trigger, we need to take a patch off the negative, which is, that's blue, that's standard UK wiring. Okay, this does not need to be a heavy cable because basically it's just to energize the coil. So let's see, we want Phillips screwdriver, that's over there, and do this one first. Quite simple, loosen the screw, little plate comes out, strip the wire, push it in, tighten the screw. So, first thing first, I don't have black, so bear with me, you know. At the end of the day, nobody else is going to be opening this welder up, so some of my colour choices may not suit everyone, but as long as I know what they are, plus I will keep this diagram. So, we need a small amount there. Again, I like to put a bend in the wire. So 7 is going to go to the negative. And tighten down. So here's the first one connected. Now what I'm going to do is I am actually going to use one of these connectors. Now these are basically similar these are similar to a Scotch lock, but they're actually a little bit more insulated. Now you would normally not use these on 240 volts, but again this is simply just feeding the coil. It does not need a lot of current, does not need a lot of amps, so it should work fine. These actually do work great if you need to hook into anything behind your dashboard. And unlike a Scotch lock, they come with a connector that, you know, basically that goes over the wire, you crimp it, and then your blade pushes into there. So if you ever need to disconnect it, you're not actually having to either cut wires or force the lock open, and they just pop apart and you've got an insulated connector there. So I like these. I've used them several times and they always work well for me. So anyway, this is what we're tapping into here, this blue wire. Now meanwhile, just so that nobody gets confused, I am actually going to mount this about there. So actually it'll probably go that way around. Then we've got that there. Yep, that will work nicely. So with these, unplug that, you simply go like that, push it over, and then take your pliers and squeeze. Yeah, same as a Scotch lock, but that's it. There you go. Like I said, you take your connector, you can just push that on, take it off. That's how it works. I like these. I like these a lot. Anyway, back to where to put the relay. Now I'm leaving a little bit extra length on here, mainly because if I ever need to service this or take it apart, it's going to be easy to do. So, strip that back. Now I don't know if these actually, I wonder if these shrink with heat. I don't know, I think I'll put some heat shrink on, just to be sure. I don't appear to have any of the intermediate size. A piece of that'll do. Okay. Again, just bend him over. Make sure you put the heat shrink on. Push him in and down. We will bend him up. Something I have noticed lately, and it's rather annoying, but that is when you're buying connectors, they seem to have changed the actual size of them. I'm going to give it a tighter crimp, I think. There we go, that's better. The standard crimping pliers, which I've had for many years, no longer appear to fit many of the crimps, the actual connectors. And there we go. So, we know this guy will, so let's just actually put him back onto there. So we know this guy is going to connect onto there, like so. Okay. And he is going to go right about there. That goes right. Yep, plenty of clearance. Right. I think what I'll do next is I think I'm going to drill the actual mounting points. So there. Okay, just make sure all of the air. Okay, so that's going to pass through there nicely. And pass through there, and then I'll sit there. So. Now these relays are actually designed to be rack mounted as well, but obviously I'm only using one, so that is not something I need to be concerned about. Actually holds that nice and solid, and then I'll put a second one in it. If I can get the drill in, I'll put a second one in. And we're going to go through. Yep, lay them out there. Drill's walking, isn't it really? I will blow this out with compressed air before I actually power this on, so okay, that will work great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this back off so I can actually just hold the relay so I can see the hold the base so I can actually, I'm not sort of trying to figure out the pin out. Okay, let's stick him back there. So, second connection we need to make there to the coil is to the trigger switch. So that is this one here. Again, strip back quite a bit so I can double this over. It's actually a little bit too long, so I'm going to trim some off that. Okay. Excellent. So that is the trigger. Okay, happy with that. Obviously I will tape everything up and skewer everything with cable ties. Now, step 2. We need to power the coil. So this is the other side of the trigger, and right, so I want to make sure that I'm only powering this when the power switch is in the on position. So I don't know how well you can see colours, but this here, that is the brown, which is the live in the UK. So that goes into there, and then these two here, after checking on various wiring diagrams, these two here are both lives. So, okay, I've had a few minutes to think about it, and that is definitely going to go that way. So, with that sitting there, that will put number 3 at this one, which will put him just there. So that is going to work. Just sit him there for the moment, and plug in from the switch. Because of the thickness of this, I do not need to double it up, so now then, that is number 3, just there. And he will pop into there. Give it a bit of a twist just to make sure the wire, there's no like straggly strays. Okay, so he is now secured, and we can plug him back onto there. Okay, so we now have to go from number 5, because 3 and 5 are actually together. So from 5 we now go to the power switch where this was unplugged from. So let's just double crank this again. Just make sure he fits on there to begin with. Now I know I'm using blue, but at the moment that is all I could get. I could either get blue or green. So I thought I'll just take blue. So first things first, some heat shrink. Don't know if I actually mentioned this earlier in the video, but the reason why I put heat shrink on everything is because rather than the connector taking any weight of the wire, the heat shrink does. So that is why I put heat shrink on everything. Yeah. It's my way of doing things. Okay, so when he's mounted there, we need to go from 5, which is that one there, to the switch. So what we'll do is we'll plug him into the switch first, like so, and then bring him around here, about that. Okay, he's now nice and secure. So that is this connection now made. Excellent. Right. So next one is again second one for the power switch, and then from there to the transformer. So that is this one here. Okay, so that does not want to disconnect from the switch. There we go. So this guy is that one there, so he goes to number 4, which is that one there. So let's see. Okay, just have to stop there a moment, take a phone call, because that is how it goes. So back to this. Let's give it a nice little twist, and here he goes. And we will put one of these guys. So what we're going to do on here, we need to take, because this is coming directly from the power switch, we need to take a feed off this for the other side of the trigger. So once again, we're going to appear like that. Sure, I think I'll point them that way, and then we will crimp. Go on, guys. There we go. Another quick squeeze. So this, take him about, yeah, about there. And tell you what, I think I will use a different coloured terminal because we're going with a much thinner wire. That's too thin. Yeah, blue should suffice. Cut him off. Keep him for later. Once again, I'll double him over, and almost forgot. Almost forgot. Where are we at? I think I'll use that. And where's it at? I have to go on there somewhere. That's on a piece of that. Yes, I know this may be overkill, but it's the way I like to do it, so, you know. The final go with this fellow. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so he will plug back into the switch, he will plug into there. There we go. And then he will plug into the switch. Okay, so we have one connection left to make from the transformer to COM4. Okay, so from there to, I think I'll use a longer piece. Okay, so we want to go from there to there. Okay, so do this one first. Don't need to drill anymore. And there, we can go over there. Do a little over there for safety. Okay, so that was two. Okay, so we want to go from there. Actually, we don't need two of them, do we? No, we don't. That will come all the way around to here. Again, I'm going to leave a little bit of extra cable on, just it's easier to cable tie it back. So, do I have him loose? No, I don't. Again, too much on there, so let's cut a bit off. Okay. Excellent. He will then go around and plug in onto there. Okay, nice and tight. And he will screw to there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the camera off, just take 5 minutes just to go check everything to make sure it's okay. I'll screw this on and then we'll be back to give it a test run. So, be right back. Well, this is now the next day, because as usual 50 other jobs came up while I was in the middle of this, so I had to go do them first. So we're back at this, and the first thing I want to do is, well, adjust my light, because I had that moved yesterday. But I just want to double check all the wiring, just get back up to speed where I'm at. So let me see. Now obviously these all need to be tidied up. Got that connectivity, yep. Okay, so we're ready for a basic test run. So let me move a few things around and we will give it a go. Now, before we move any further, let's plug in the relay. Okay. Switch the welder on and we have so far so good until that for the moment. So next thing is to test to see if we can actually strike an arc. So let's grab a piece of steel and clamp it up and see what happens. Okay, so what I've got is just a piece of slate there, an old Allen wrench, and it's clamped up. Now what used to happen was, when you, what would happen is, without the trigger being pulled, if you went to touch the metal, it would arc. So let's see what we get. Nothing. Perfect. So let's try that again with the welder plugged in. We'll pretend we didn't see that. Okay, this time, see if we get an arc without the trigger pulled. No. So, let's see now. And I think that's a definitive yes. Okay. Well, that is actually really good news. I'm glad that has worked out. So now all I've got to do is clamp this relay in, go around and make sure everything is nicely secured, cable tie all the connections, etc. And then that's it. So let's get rid of this piece of slate and let's get on. Right, so that is the relay side of it done. The only thing I've got to do next is modify this rear bracket, which seems to have been just kind of stuck on anyway, because larger gas cylinder. So let's just pop this off. Okay then, I've come up with I guess you could call it a plan. So what I've done is I've cut this bracket in half, and what I'm thinking is just a couple of holes drilled in the bracket, zip tie, and yeah, there we have it. Okay, so one hole now drilled. Screwdriver. Excellent. I need to clean all my torques up. Ever since working on cesspit, everything is just absolutely covered in oil. Okay, so he will sit there, and let's see. Feed him through. Okay, so goes like that. And that's it. That's all we need, just something just to stop him moving around. He will go on top of there, and then that's it. So, excellent. Now all I need to do is just get this put back together. So I'll just pop them over there, and I'll just pop out of there nicely. Put it on one side. Now let's begin screwing this back together. Something that has just occurred to me is when we go to fit the top. Obviously it was originally cut for the much smaller bottle, which I don't actually have one, or do I? Doesn't matter. Anyway, the new bottle is considerably larger, so I am going to have to compensate for that by removing a section of the case. So I'll go with something like that. Maybe like that there. Okay, let's grab the angle grinder again and get to cutting. Okay, let's try this again. Yeah, that should work. Okay, so start screwing this back together. So, one final test of the bottle, and make sure he still goes in. And there we have it. Crap falling off the shelves, but that's it. One reconstituted welder. So I'm going to call it there for the video. You know the drill, like, subscribe, blah blah blah. So should be back at the shop next week. Do some more work on the van. So hopefully the next videos you will see on here is some bodywork being done on the van. So there you have it. Have a good one. Come back and see me sometime.